A garden pot sits undisturbed for months, and beneath it, in the cool dark, a colony of small gray creatures goes about a life that has almost nothing to do with the plant growing above them. Lift that pot and they scatter, some curling instantly into tight little armored balls, others frozen mid-step as if playing dead. Most people call them roly-polies, some call them pill bugs, some call them potato bugs, and in parts of the world they are known as woodlice. Almost everyone assumes they are insects. Almost everyone is wrong. The animal curling up in your palm right now is a crustacean, a land-dwelling relative of shrimp, crabs, and lobsters, and it has been quietly running one of the most important recycling operations in your garden for longer than most people realize. To understand why roly-polies matter, it helps to understand how strange their body plan really is. Insects have 6 legs. Roly-polies have 14, arranged in 7 pairs along a segmented body that looks almost like a suit of tiny armor plates. That armor is not decoration. It is a calcified exoskeleton, hardened with calcium carbonate the same way a crab shell is hardened, and it is the reason these animals can do something almost no other land crustacean can do: survive completely out of water. Most crustaceans never left the ocean. Woodlice are among the rare lineages that made the full transition from sea to land, and they did it without ever fully solving the problem that still defines their entire existence. They breathe through structures called pseudotracheae, primitive gill-like lungs tucked into modified legs near the base of their body, and those structures only work when they stay moist. This single biological compromise explains almost everything about how a roly-poly lives. It explains why you find them under pots, under bark, beneath fallen leaves, and inside compost piles, always in the same narrow band of dark, damp, sheltered space. They are not hiding from you. They are chasing humidity, because a dry roly-poly is a dying roly-poly, sometimes within hours. That need for moisture also explains the behavior that gives them their name. When a roly-poly senses danger, some species roll into a near-perfect sphere, tucking their legs and vulnerable underside inward, and presenting only their hardened plates to the world. Scientists call this conglobation, and it is not just a cute defensive trick. It is a way to minimize the surface area exposed to dry air while also blocking a predator's grip. Remarkably, this rolling ability evolved independently multiple times across different isopod lineages and even shows up convergently in animals, as distantly related as pill millipedes and armadillos. 3 unrelated branches of life, all arriving at the same defensive solution, because physics and predation pressure only leave so many good options on the table. Roly-polies also solve the water problem through their diet and their waste. Most land animals excrete nitrogen waste as urine or uric acid, both of which require water to produce and expel. Roly-polies mostly skip that step. Instead, much of their nitrogen waste is released directly as ammonia gas through their exoskeleton, essentially breathing out the toxic byproduct rather than dissolving it in water first. It is an efficient trick for an animal that cannot afford to lose a drop of moisture, but it also means their bodies are chemically tuned instruments, constantly balancing hydration, waste, and respiration in a way few backyard animals have to manage. Then there is the matter of what they eat, and here is where roly-polies quietly become one of the most underappreciated workers in your garden's ecosystem. They are detritivores, meaning their diet consists almost entirely of dead and decaying organic material. Fallen leaves, rotting wood, decomposing fruit, fungal matter, even dead insects, all of it gets processed through a roly-poly's gut and broken down into smaller, more chemically accessible pieces. This might sound unremarkable until you consider the scale. A single square meter of temperate forest floor can host hundreds of woodlice, and collectively, populations like these process a significant share of the leaf litter that falls each year, physically shredding tough plant material that fungi and bacteria then finish breaking down. Without shredders like roly-polies doing this first pass, decomposition slows, nutrients stay locked inside dead plant tissue longer, and the whole nutrient cycle that feeds new plant growth backs up. Every time a roly-poly eats a rotting leaf, it is doing free labor that keeps your garden's soil fertile. Their feeding habits produce one more genuinely bizarre behavior worth knowing about. Roly-polies practice coprophagy, meaning they eat their own feces, sometimes repeatedly. This is not a random quirk. Their bodies use copper-based hemocyanin instead of iron-based hemoglobin to carry oxygen through their blood, which is itself a leftover trait from their marine ancestry, since hemocyanin is common throughout crustaceans. Copper is scarce in a diet of dead leaves, so by cycling waste back through their gut, roly-polies extract every last trace of copper and other nutrients their first pass missed. It is an efficient, if unglamorous, survival strategy, and it means almost nothing in their diet goes to waste twice. That same copper processing biology has made roly-polies genuinely valuable to scientists. Because their bodies readily absorb and store heavy metals like copper, cadmium, lead, and zinc in specialized cells in their digestive gland, researchers use woodlice as bioindicators, living instruments that reveal how contaminated a patch of soil actually is. In areas near old mining sites or industrial land, scientists have found roly-poly populations carrying heavy metal concentrations dramatically higher than the surrounding soil, essentially locking pollutants away inside their bodies rather than letting them spread further through the food web. Some researchers have even studied using isopod populations to help monitor and partially remediate contaminated ground, since these animals concentrate toxins that would otherwise keep cycling through plants and the animals that eat them. A creature you might sweep off your porch without a second thought is, in another context, functioning as an early warning system for environmental contamination. Reproduction adds another layer most people never notice, mostly because it happens completely out of sight. Female roly-polies carry their fertilized eggs in a fluid-filled pouch on the underside of their body called a marsupium, essentially an internal nursery that keeps developing eggs moist and protected. When the eggs hatch, the young, called mantae, emerge as tiny, nearly complete versions of the adult, missing only their final pair of legs, which they grow in after their first molt. A female can carry anywhere from a dozen to over 200 eggs at once, and depending on the species and climate, may produce multiple broods across a single year. There is also a stranger reproductive twist involving a bacterium called Wolbachia, which infects many isopod species and can manipulate their reproduction, in some cases converting genetic males into functional females to boost the bacterium's own spread through the population. It is one of the more extreme examples in nature of a parasite quietly rewriting its host's biology to serve its own survival. Given everything roly-polies actually do, the instinct to kill them on sight in a garden is almost always misplaced. They do not attack living plant tissue the way many garden insects do. Their mouthparts are built for scraping and shredding dead material, not piercing healthy stems or leaves. Occasional reports of roly-polies damaging seedlings usually involve plants that are already stressed, rotting, or otherwise compromised, where the roly-poly is finishing a job that decay had already started, rather than initiating fresh damage on its own. In a healthy garden, their presence is often a quiet signal that the soil ecosystem underneath is functioning the way it should, with moisture, organic matter, and decomposer activity all in balance. So the next time you lift a garden pot and find a cluster of gray, segmented bodies curling defensively into tight little spheres, it is worth pausing before reaching for a shoe. What looks like a nuisance is actually a highly specialized crustacean, a descendant of ocean-dwelling ancestors that solved the impossible problem of living on dry land, a chemical recycler pulling copper and nitrogen through its body with remarkable efficiency, and a living filter quietly pulling heavy metals out of contaminated soil. It has been doing this work under your garden pots for years, completely unnoticed, asking for nothing more than a little shade and a little moisture in return. Never kill this.